Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career and Outreach Coordinator for the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today our guest is KU alum Jill Dorsey Hall, Sales Development Manager at Boston Scientific. Welcome, Jill.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. It's beautiful in here, so I'm so pleased to see what you all have done.
And I know Sales Development Manager doesn't do your career justice. You also do a lot of broadcasting, and I know we're going to dig into that. But before we get started, I know last week, National Girls and Women's and Sports Day last week, and I think you were part of a all-female broadcast crew, and then the in-house production crew was also female. What was that day like?
It's incredible. I'm so proud of my alma mater for doing that. I thought that it was incredible, just that it was everybody. It was female, and it means a lot to me as a female myself, and coming to school here as a former student athlete. And I think that day just represents just the empowerment of women, and just to see like the trailblazers that came before me in sports and where we're at now. And I'm just thrilled to see like what's it going to be in the future. And so for me, it means it's okay for women to take space and to show who we are and to have a platform. So I thought it was wonderful, and it was a lot of fun.
And I've known you for a few years, and I know sports has been a big part of your life growing up and now professionally. Can you talk about how sports has prepared you for personal and professional life?
Yeah, I was blessed to have two other brothers that were big role models, but I have to give credit to my mom. She actually grew up in a time that she couldn't play high school sports. They didn't have high school sports for females when she grew up, but she actually showed me she was a really good baton twirler, which is a really fun fact. But my brothers modeled great competitiveness, and so I got to see them through sport and hard work. And I just watched them, and I watched what it meant to them. And sports has allowed me to show my competitiveness and to be okay with being strong and to having a voice and knowing what it takes to overcome adversity and show grit. And so sports has taught me so much and has continued. It's the attributes and the skill set that I've learned through sports, I continue to use in my life now. And so without sport, I don't know where I would be, actually. It's been a lot.
And I would think the fact that you've played the basketball, softball, and obviously volleyball at a high level, I would think that helps in your role as a commentator?
Absolutely. Yeah. I do a lot of multitude of sports, and I joke that if I wasn't commentating it, I would be watching it anyway. So at least I get paid to talk about it and have a really good seat while doing it. But I was blessed to watch my brothers play a multitude of sports, and so both of my brothers played basketball in college, but they played a multitude of sports. My brother Brian, my brother Brent as well, and so I got to see what that meant to them. And I think it's great to cross-train too, to get involved. So much specialization is happening these days, but I actually like that I got to play in a multitude of sports.
Now, did you start your broadcasting career while you were a student at KU, or did that happen just a little bit afterwards?
Yeah, I actually got to intern with Fox.
Okay.
I was really grateful for that opportunity. The athletic director at the time was Lou Perkins. Right. I learned at a really early age to start networking. And so I walked into his office, I set up a meeting, and I said, I would love your help in getting some connections. And so, the next week he had me connections at Nike, with Fox, with ESPN. It was amazing. Wow. And I just learned that early on, to ask for help, ask for advocates, and ask for connections. And I was able to do that. And so he set that up, and so I interned with Fox Sports during college, which I was grateful for that opportunity.
So did you kind of learn as you go, or were you automatic success right away, or did it take some time to get in that comfort zone?
Definitely not. I was more of a student, on-campus student ambassador, if you will. I did a couple stand-up spots for them. I went to the College World Series because I was out of season at that time. Okay. So there was only certain things that I could do, but at the time there was a Big 12 Showcase show that Fox had, and so I was their correspondent for KU, and so I got to do some stand-up spots. They did a volleyball recap, and I got to do that. I got to work with Bill Land, who was who's great at his job, and so I got my start there. Keith Fletcher, I'm always forever grateful for him at Fox too, and continued. I built those relationships in college, and then now I still work with Fox. Some of those connections that I made on campus are still hold true today.
And do you know off the top of your head how many sporting events you do a year broadcasting? Is that hard to keep track of?
It is hard. I think in during the fall and the busiest, and I would say there's a couple events in the fall every week, I feel like, and so it really hits heavy at the end of August all the way through December.
Wow.
And then basketball starts to bleed into that, and then softball rolls right around. So it is frantic. I think the only months I have off truly are June and July, which I know my husband and my kids get excited about because mom's home a little bit more because I travel for my job at Boston Scientific too.
Okay. Before I forget, what are your thoughts on pro volleyball coming to Kansas City?
Oh gosh, I'm thrilled. I'm so excited. You know, they tried a couple of volleyball leagues over, the course of a couple decades, and I'm really hopeful that this one sticks. And I think they have the right investment around the backing. I think it's really important. And I think that people are starting to see that if they invest in women's sports, then they'll watch, right? Like if you build it, they will come. And I think that you see that, you're a girl dad, right? And you had, girls that play sports. And so I think it's really awesome to see that Kansas City is such a great place to be too. And I think that it'll thrive. And I'm so thrilled. I'm hoping that we can get in on that broadcasting gig.
I was going to ask you, is it too early to tell? Is that something I would think if you had an opportunity, you'd like to have a role on that?
I have a connection. I got the commissioner's number. Okay. I think I'm going to reach out and do that and see where we can go with that.
And speaking of volleyball, during your time at KU, you were the first libero. That'd be a great trivia question. And I think, weren't you part of Coach Bouchard's, his first 2 tournament teams?
Yeah, we're the first ever. Yep.
And then after volleyball, at KU, you got to play some volleyball at high level in California. Was that always part of the plan, or how did you stumble on that beach volleyball scene?
So Suzanne Shaw was advisor here at the School of Journalism, and she was wonderful. And I met with her, and I had a chance I was a PR, I really specialized in public relations. I really latched onto that within strategic communications. And I had an opportunity to either go to LA, New York, or Chicago with different firms. And I had a lot of friends in LA, and so I picked LA. I worked for the Bola Company. And so being out there and being friends with a lot of volleyball, the volleyball community is really small. And so I decided not to go professionally indoors overseas, as I had a roommate. My best friend did that. But I was like, this beach fits my skill set extremely well because I'm 5'9". In high school, I was an outside hitter, but I had a lot of ball control skills really lend well for beach volleyball. So it actually just fit really well. And so it wasn't the number one plan, but it was a really nice additive that I got to continue to do that because when I played my last volleyball match at KU, it was really hard. It was a really difficult transition. I always talk about how athletes die 2 different deaths, and their first death is the day that their athletic career ends. And I felt that. I was in a big funk, actually. And then when I got out to LA in May after I graduated, I found this revitalized love of I'm like I'm going to do this. I'm going to be competitive still. Got to play a couple tournaments overseas in Italy and compete, and I'm very grateful. I loved it. It was so fun.
So was that a pretty smooth transition? Because there are probably not too many beaches in Wellsville, Kansas, are there?
There's not.
Okay. I think they used to have that sand pit back by the old rec center.
Yeah, exactly. It was difficult, and the sand in Hermosa Manhattan Beach is deep. It's the mecca of beach volleyball. But I loved it. I live close to the Strand, and so I could walk out in the morning, and I got to just play beach volleyball in the morning. Every morning I had to go out there like 6 a.m. and got to play with my friends and got to play in tournaments and travel around. The money wasn't amazing, but I made a little bit of money. Nice. But I had to work as well. But it was awesome to be able to say I played beach volleyball.
Now, is beach volleyball, is it always 2-on-2?
It's 2-on-2, the way you see it in the Olympics and the AVP and the competitive. But there are, when you get out there, you play 4-on-4. You don't ever really play 6-on-6, but 4s are a little bit more common but 2s is what you see on mainstream, which,
And I think I read somewhere too, you got the nickname Kansas while you're out there? Nice.
I did. It's so funny. I still have my license plate. I still had my Kansas license plate. I still have my same phone number, like the 785 area code. And so my friends out there, they're like, wait, what square is that in the middle? And so it was funny. They're like, I've never met. You have electricity, all the questions as you can imagine of living, going out to California. And so they just nicknamed me Kansas. So people that didn't even know my name just call me Kansas.
And your husband, he's from California?
He's from California. I took the Cali boy out of California and brought him to Kansas.
So you have a sales background. So what was that sales pitch like to get your husband to come to Kansas?
I brought him to my house, and my dad set 5 different cuts of meat in front of him.
Oh, okay.
And he loves eating red meat. And so that wasn't too hard. My mom gave him some homemade coffee cake, blueberry coffee cake. And he actually just really loves my family. I've got a great family.
So he passed the brother's test too?
He did. It was a tough one. My oldest brother loves to call, at least the joke was that he'd call any boy that I brought home the last boyfriend's name. So he had fun with that for a while. But he passed the test.
That's good.
Dad's a big fan, mom as well. And so we're really close with my family. So a little bit cheaper to live here as well. But I think he really does like it here. He still has the California hair, though. He definitely has the California hair.
So you've been at Boston Scientific, I think, for a little over 7 years as a sales development manager. How big is your sales development team?
Oh, there's 3 of us now.
Okay.
Yeah, and we actually are in the space of our field sales organization, and so we have other talent management team at the corporate level, but I love our niche in the urology division, so there's 3 of us.
So what makes for a good sales team? I imagine you have to motivate them and keep them on track and hitting their quote. I don't know if you still do the quota thing.
Yeah, your quotas, absolutely. So we're in the medical device arena, and so what makes a really good rep is uncovering needs. And so physicians have needs, but hospital systems are businesses, and so making sure that they understand the value proposition. We're actually we have market share within our space within Boston Scientific and what we sell in our division, but because of that, you can't undercut on price. So it is really difficult for our field sales, but we teach them a lot of soft skills. So teach them how to understand how they show up and how they communicate. So I got certified in DISC, and so we talk a lot about how your communication styles, like you've got to match who you're talking to and understanding that. Like if they want to match on, provide data, you got to know that the person you're talking to might really need that data and that facts. Or if you're talking to somebody that wants the small talk, or if you're talking to somebody that doesn't want a small talk and like get right to the point. Right. So we did a lot of teaching on that and a lot of on listening, listening not to just respond, but listening to truly understand. And so we take them through that. We have sales process, a sales methodology, but I love it. I help people hit their development goals too, write a SMART goal. I've always been really goal oriented myself, so this is a really great space that I'm in right now that I truly love.
So you talk about talent acquisition, you mentioned soft skills. I mean, what do you look for in talent? I mean, are the soft skills a big part of it?
I think anytime you can showcase that you've overcame adversity, I think that's huge. And so I want to see that grit. I want to see that, like, what is your X factor? And so I tell a lot of people, like, just do a lot of self-reflection. Like, what makes you you? What makes you great? And you've got to understand that. You've got to understand, like, how you show up. You got to know, like, what is your brand? What's your personal brand? And so I look for, obviously, a documented success and a continued documented success. Like, I want to see that you've been the best and how you've been able to maintain the best. And also too, what's your why? I always ask people, like, what's your why? Why do you do this? Why do you do this? And within medical device, a lot of it is because people feel a close connection. They want to help people because you can really, like my dad had to go undergo procedures that our products impacted his life. And improving patients' life. And so at the heart of it, I want to know, like, I want to know why you want to, be where you're going to be and really be proud and be a part of that culture. Culture is really important to us at Boston Scientific. One of our core values is having a winning spirit.
And going back to broadcasting, you've probably worked with a lot of different play-by-play people. I've always been amazed. I mean, just that partnership. I mean, how tough is it to be on the same page? I imagine the more you work with them, it gets easier.
It does.
But what's some of the secrets there?
I think it's being planful and doing your research. I'm impressed, Steve, with all the research you did on me. It's awesome. But
you have a great LinkedIn profile. I teach a class on professional development. I might have to use your LinkedIn profile as an example.
I would love to come in and talk about that, actually. But I think it's doing the research. It's understanding who you're talking to, their background, what makes them tick. I'm very intentional on meeting. If I'm working with somebody new, this past year I did, and so I reached out and I said, hey, let's go to dinner the night before, and then talk and set ground rules. Not ground rules necessarily, but understanding, okay, like, how do you like to operate?
Right.
How can I best do my role in my seat as an analyst? And then they want to know the same thing, like, how best can I set you up? What do you want to talk about? And even on timeouts too, or any type of break in the action between sets, timeouts, it's we have a production meeting beforehand, which is good. So we're all on the same page and we know what graphics are built and things like that. But you want to know, like, how do they like to jive?
Right.
Because there's some play-by-play that I worked with that want to continue to talk through, and there's some with understanding of, like, whenever there's a replay, I'm going to be the one, speaking. And so you just have to work on some of those kinks because you don't want to talk over one another.
And it seems recently you've kind of jumped on the MC circle. Is that, are they finding you, or are you like saying, hey, I want to do that? Or because I think you did what, the Rock Chalk Choice Awards, and you done some Hall of Fame induction ceremonies. What's that experience been like?
It was a great year last year, and I'm really grateful. The University of Kansas, and they reached out to me on those, but I did enjoy it. It got me out of my comfort zone a little bit because I'm used to sitting in that analyst seat, but something that I'm really trying to stretch myself and trying to grow as a professional, because that's something that is a core value of mine, is to continue to learn and continue to evolve and to continue to stay relevant. And so I wanted to expand my skills, and it was so fun to be able to do that, to work with Brandon McAnderson as well, and then to host that event and to be able to introduce the chancellor and the AD and to be there when they were inducting an all-female class. It was fun, and I would love to do more of it, but it's not something that I had reached out to or something that I had set out necessarily to do. They certainly asked me, but that's just goes into, you never know what opportunities, and you never know when you meet somebody where that can come back to you. So if I could tell anybody listening, any students that are listening perhaps, is to think about, like, your network and where it expands to, but then the layers of the network in which you have. And nowadays there's so much, you talked about LinkedIn, there's so much accessibility, but I think having intention around it too. And so there's a great tool, the activity that I do around, like, what does your network look like and where are the people that you have in your network? And I just think you have to stay really intentional around that.
Yep, no, well said. Talk about the KU Hall of Fame. You were just inducted this past year in your high school, the Wellsville Hall of Fame. What was that reaction like? I'm always amazed by that whole celebration. So.
Yeah, it was just really grateful. I mean, Wellsville's meant so much to me, coming from a small town, and there's so many people. Dawn, your wife, was really instrumental to me, and she was, my coach and teacher, and I learned a ton of skills from her, and Jeanette Selk, and talk about a lot of the women, and even my coach, Coach Dowling, as well. And there's so many people in that community, and even not just teachers, but people within the community that helped me just to grow and have a ton of opportunities. Even in a small town, I had a ton of different opportunities to learn and push myself, to get involved in different activities and different clubs within school that, I mean, I remember writing my first resume with Dawn and doing that, and it will always forever stick with me, and so just to be represented, and Jeanette, I think, was the one that nominated me, and she's the one that introduced me to the game of volleyball, and she just has a heart of gold, and so many people in that community that have give so much to the youth and the people in that. I'm really proud to be from Wellsville.
Yeah, and Jeanette, I know she still is involved in coaching. And there's also a great photo of you and your high school coach, Don Dowling, because he came all the way back from Virginia, right?
I know, and that was so nice of him to do that, and they had asked him to do that, and he's continued to follow me on my career, and I am really appreciative of that. And there's different pieces that I picked up from different people in my life, and I'll never forget. He always said, he's like, patience is a virtue, and I don't know why that, like, sticks out to me, that he told me that, and it's something that I think is very true.
So the research department here, we did go back and track down your 7th grade volleyball coach. I heard she turned you into a setter. Did that almost ruin your career?
It didn't ruin my career, but I will never forget that. I remember we rotated at that time. We didn't do a lot of just like switching or moving with rotations. A little bit simpler at that in 7th grade volleyball.
Getting the ball over to the next huge.
I think we were undefeated.
You were good.
Okay,
I remember that.
I think we were. So clearly she was doing something right. But she just had the best passion for volleyball, and just just exuded joy. That's what sticks with me about her, about Dawn, and just she's so caring, and she gave so much to her class and her teams that I love that about her.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we have a new feature we're launching today. It's called 5-question follow-up interview. So Cal Butcher, KU volleyball PA announcer.
Yes.
Okay, so he's introducing Jill Dorsey Hall as a starter for the KU alumni volleyball match in August. What is your intro or walk-up music?
Oh, man. Okay, my kids will say that I'm the worst at knowing the songs and artists. Can I start there, though?
Or the type of music? Is there a genre? I mean,
they would be mad if I didn't say something by Drake.
Okay.
Like, my little guys look really into Drake. But you know, I'm gonna have to get. Can I?
We can come back to that.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, I forgot to ask you this originally. You talked about your 4 sons. How do you manage the time? I mean, that's got to be chaotic. I mean, do you have a? I'm sure you're super organized. Do you have a planner? I bet you have something on the fridge where you got each day planned out.
Yeah, we have a color system.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty OCD. My husband is as well, so I'm grateful for that. We're on the same page for that. But it's intense. They're all in sports, but I wouldn't have it any other way. I like to not use the word busy. I like to say our days are full. So our days are very full. Yeah. Okay. I think I have a song.
Okay.
Montel Jordan, This Is How We Do It. And Leif Lysick will really appreciate that because he oftentimes is my play-by-play partner for volleyball matches. And for years, almost a decade straight, they would play that as the warm-up, and that was our thing. And so he texts me, this is fun, at the Super Bowl, he told me, he's like, they're playing Montel Jordan. I said, this is a sign that the Chiefs are going to win.
Nice.
Yeah.
So pro volleyball coming to KC in 2025. What should the team's name be? Got a team name lined up?
Wow. These are tough, Steve.
The other ones are easier.
The team name for Kansas
Or what
City.
should it not be, maybe?
Yeah.
Because I was Googling volleyball names, and they got the standard, like
They have
the diggers, the spikers, but they need something a little more.
None of that.
Yeah.
I do appreciate Omaha's team is the Supernovas.
Okay.
It's fun. They have the rise. They have the thrill. I'm thinking of they have the vibe. We obviously can't use any of those. Yeah. I don't know.
Okay. I'll
Gosh.
later this year I'll ask you that same question. So more impressive play in volleyball, that diving dig where your hand is like between the court and the ball.
Yeah, we call
or
those pancakes.
a kill from the back row. What's more impressive?
Pancakes.
Yeah.
Easy. I'm going to
Being a
give
defensive
any
specialist.
love to a libero or a defensive play 100% of the time.
So I believe a volleyball court is 60 feet long. So who wins a sprint between you and Leif Lysick if you go baseline to baseline, so down and back, so 120 feet? Who's winning that sprint?
Me, no doubt.
Is it even close?
No.
Okay.
Partner, I love you. I do, but there's no doubt. I might run backwards.
Oh, and you could still beat him?
Ooh.
Okay.
He's going to hear this, and he's totally going to give me grief. You know, he's an alum, too.
Yeah. I'm going to have to reach out to him.
You have to have him on.
So Jill just found out she has an extra year of eligibility to play volleyball at KU.
Sign me up.
Through an NIL deal, what brand product are you promoting? I mean, who are you working with to promote?
I'm going to work with, I would think athleisure wear, right? Like
Okay.
You think that? I mean, it's easy to say Nike, but we're an Adidas school. I probably shouldn't say that. Let's go with Clairvaux. It's a local spot.
Okay.
My friend Joni owns it, and I would totally rock, and I would have a deal with her because I love everything in her store. And I'm all about shopping local. I live in Kansas City, so that's local to me. Yeah. But Clairvaux, I would rock that. I would have a deal with them.
Well, thanks for the 5-question follow-up. You're the first one, and
those are tough.
We'll have to work on that KC pro team. But no,
okay.
Hey, Jill, I appreciate you taking the time to visit with us.
Yeah.
Been fun to watch your career, volleyball, broadcasting, and the sales. Thanks, Jill.
Cheers.